Barrow returns home after attending the Arab Islamic American Summit in Saudi Arabia. The Supreme Court withdraws petition filed by the former ruling APRC party. Farmers in rural Gambia said to receive locally made farms implement courtesy of the Gambia Technical Training Institute. And armed police conduct raids in Greater Manchester in the wake of Monday's night's concert bombing. These and others coming ahead in this half hour. Do stay with us. And now the news in detail. His Excellency President Barrow, accompanied by a high-powered delegation, returned to Banjul after attending the Arab Islamic American Summit in Riyadh, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Shortly after his arrival, the president spoke to waiting reporters about his visit.
Thank you.
How was your trip, sir?
It was a nice trip. It was all about tourism. We were invited as a country at the expense of the Saudi government. I think tourism is a global issue. So that's why we feel that we should be part of it.
So we are coming to that because a lot of issues have been discussed during the meeting, including mechanisms to curb the trend of escalating terrorism across the globe. How do you intend to implement some of the ideas that emanated during the discussions to boost the security of the country?
Well, for Gambia, I think terrorism is not a big issue in Gambia, but we are part of the global war. So there are a lot of ideas that we need to put in place at our cabinet level when we come up with the policy document.
President Barrow there talking to reporters shortly after his arrival from Saudi Arabia. You can watch highlights of the president's arrival shortly after these newscasts. And now, nutrition specialists have concluded a national forum on food fortification. The program, as Samuel Barrow reports, is organized by the European Union as part of its efforts to improve the Gambia's food security.
The forum, organized by the European Union, brought together nutrition experts and their partners to enhance mobilization and share experiences in advancing food security.
As we are battling with undernutrition standing on one scale, there is another dimension of malnutrition which is creeping, and creeping very slowly. That's the issue of obesity. And on the other end again, we have micronutrient deficiencies.
As a first step towards scaling up engagement and investment in food fortification, the EU has set up a food advisory service. The idea is for these experts to support the strengthening of institutional and technical capacities of beneficiary countries.
Children growing up in poor households are more likely to suffer from undernutrition, which undermines their ability to learn and makes them more prone to disease and to illness. This hinders a child's capacity to secure a job as an adult and to lead a productive life.
Experts said that global progress in addressing internationally agreed targets on food security have been slow, while undernutrition continues to trap individuals and communities in the vicious circle of poverty.
Furthermore, an allocation of €4.1 million to WFP to provide school meals is intended to promote access to food. There will be a call for proposals later this year for NGOs to submit complementary actions in nutrition. Because most of these stunted children today, when you look at them, or underweight children, they lack something in their diet. They might be getting the right macronutrients, but if they are not getting the right micronutrients, we have to balance and open up some of the macronutrients it needs to either stunting or undernutrition.
The European Union remains a major financial actor in nutrition and food security locally. The Union recently signed an €11.5 million for post-crisis response to food security.
Micronutrient deficiency is not something that we are tracking very well, because if I can remember, the last surveys that were done was in 1999, and the data is almost obsolete. But by then, almost 9 suffering from IWA deficits. The EU continues to address acute food and nutrition insecurity through humanitarian assistance. In the recent past, the EU's Humanitarian Office has provided support by way of cash transfers and supplementary feeding for pregnant and lactating mothers.
This information sharing platform for national actors in food security is one of the components under the EU nutrition portfolio aimed at contributing to the reduction of micronutrient deficiencies. Samuel Bach, GRTS.
The Ministry of Agriculture has received farm implements from the Gambia Technical Training Institute. The tools would be distributed to farmers across the country. Denke Ture has more in this report.
It's part of efforts by the GTTI to enhance agricultural production by providing farmers with basic tools that can make a difference.
The farm implement project was contracted to the GTTI in 2015 by Office of the President through the Ministry of Agriculture. And GTTI was tasked to be the hub responsible for the production of animal-drawn farm implements to support the farmers of the Gambia.
The Minister of Agriculture was pleased with GTTI.
Technical and vocational training, skill training, is the only way to viable and sustainable development in all forms. I have to thank the GTTI for living up to our expectation and even really doing the mandate for which they were established.
Since agriculture is the Gambia's major source of livelihood and largest contributor to the economy, supporting the sector gives the nation a fighting chance against poverty.
MOHAS applauds such entrepreneurship and cherishes such efforts. Technology has a vital role to play in shaping our societies of tomorrow. It is our ardent desire to see GTTI upgraded to a polytechnic and even to a technical university in the very near future.
The mandate given to this institute is really up and running, is alive, because we can all attest to the fact that the language that should be spoken in the Gambia and in most other countries is about Tibet, and that's technical vocational education and training. We all know that it's all about skills, making things happen. We have seen studies that have been carried out which actually demonstrate that skill gaps exist in the Gambia because they are being supported by non-Gambians, and therefore Gambians are supposed to take the lead in ensuring that acquiring skills is not only about giving you training, but it's also about giving you livelihood.
GTTI said this was the beginning of what they hope will be a mutually beneficial relationship with the farming community.
This was an opportunity which was given to GTTI for the staff and students to actually participate in this project. So we are grateful to the Gambia government for this particular initiative.
GTTI is the country's leading technical institution that has the responsibility of producing the nation's future engineers. This work of theirs is a sign that they are moving in the right direction. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Jenke Ture.
More than 100 students have graduated from Yunus English Senior Secondary School, and details of that report is by Fadijan Bai.
Through the back way of Europe has topped the agenda in several local and international forums. At this recent graduation of high school students from Yunus English School in Busumala, the issue of illegal migration was contained in the speech of a former minister and educationist. More than 100 students have successfully completed their secondary education. These graduates will soon decide what step to take as far as their careers are concerned. It is for this reason that Alkali James Gay, the first principal of the school, is calling on the graduates not to think of going to Europe through the back way.
Nobody will come from elsewhere to come and build our country. We have to do it. We, the Gambian youths. So the opportunity is there. So why do you have to go? We don't risk. Those things are risk. You have something more here. Stay with your mother and father, your sister and everybody. That collecting, they put money together and give it to someone to go.
The proprietor of the school, Unisilla, urged the graduates to stick to the piece of advice given by the former school principal and make sure that the journey through the back way of Europe does not distract their attention.
There's nothing like education. Rushing to money making is going to be a big mistake for our youth to concentrate in their mind at this stage.
The students say they are thinking of how to further their education.
I hope to further my education in the university or college to acquire some knowledge so that I can have a job easily to help my family.
For me, my aim and objective is to stay inside the country here and to develop or to contribute to the development of the country.
In her keynote address, the head of education at the Gambia College, Madam Aisatundal, urged the students to take advantage of the resources in the country to further their studies.
Education is the bedrock of any serious nation's development. Any nation that is serious would really want to have or would want to invest in education. In other words, education is the fundamental to growth and development and serves as a critical indicator to measure the progress of and the development of any society.
One by one, the graduates were called to receive their certificate, which was followed by individual prizes for the best students in various subjects. Reporting for GTTI News, I am Fatijan Mbai.
And now, staff of City Limits Radio recently concluded a 3-week training in the protection of fundamental rights and freedoms as enshrined in the Constitution. Modu Bajan has the rest.
Training is part of EU UNESCO international program which seeks to build the capacity of media practitioners in the Gambia. City Limits Radio General Manager Babukar Cham hailed the initiative as essential and thanked the sponsors for helping to build the capacity needs of journalists.
We failed you to try and share with them what you know about the Constitution as far as the chapter 1, 2, and 4 are concerned. We believe firmly that media is an important part of democracy.
Highlighting democracy in relation to the new Gambia, UNESCO's Leszek Bailey and peace advocate Madam Ola Johnson tasked the journalists to make use of their constitutional know-how in responsible journalism.
We have the air, we have the people. We have the images of people, of individuals and entities in our hands. And it depends on how we play with this.
The participants, including Sheikh Gay alias Lipsiji, said that the training is significant in building their knowledge of the Gambia's basic fundamental rights and freedom.
We also talked about citizen journalism, which is a specific form of both the citizen media and user-generated content. These are things that we really appreciated during our training, and we will definitely make good use of what we have learned.
Serin Fai of the National Council for Civic Education and Legal Counsel Dauda Jaro urged the participants to be sensitizing their audience on basic constitutional issues.
This team is one team that I am very impressed with. They've cooperated throughout the training, and I have seen signs that they've learned something. But I threw a challenge at them at the beginning of the training, and I will remind them of that. The only evidence that learning took place is when behavior changes. And if you are to confirm that you've learned something new that you did not know before coming to that training, that should reflect on how you do your job now.
Officials say the step-down training can be utilized at both social and religious gatherings. Modu Bajan, GRTS.
The Supreme Court of Gambia has finally withdrawn the post-election petition filed by former President Yahya Jammeh, the APRC party, and its national mobilizer, Yankuba Kuli. Earlier, the applicants pronounced their intention to annul the 3 petitions which challenged the results of the December 1st presidential polls, but were ordered by the Supreme Court to formalize their withdrawal. The petition was finally annulled after that condition was fulfilled by the lawyer for the applicants, Edward Gomez, who presented the formal and complete withdrawal withdrawal motion to the Supreme Court as on Wednesday, as they embarked on their second sitting after being sworn into office 2 weeks ago. The National Blood Transfusion Service under the Ministry of Health has held a donor conference to garner support for blood donation. Patition again.
What can you do to save lives was the catchphrase for the day-long breakfast donor conference to create awareness on the importance of blood donation.
If we talk about blood transfusion, it's a key component of the health services. So it is a way of creating awareness to our partners and stakeholders to make sure that they are aware of the situation of blood transfusion services in the country.
As you may know that blood, unlike other therapeutic interventions, cannot be acquired from any pharmacy. Neither it is manufactured from any pharmaceutical industry. Blood for transfusion must come from humans and must come from safe donors.
The program manager also underlined some of the challenges faced by the National Blood Transfusion Services, which includes inadequate budgetary allocation, lack of funding to implement blood transfusion program activities, and acute shortage of qualified members of staff. Madam Jame said public support for the realization of the blood support service is needed.
Now the message is for everyone to be part of the blood transfusion services, because safe blood and blood donation is everyone's business. It can be me, it can be any other person, and you don't know when you will need it, because the blood you donate may save your own life.
Dr. Momodu Wage, the health director, gave the background of the blood transfusion process and its impact. Mr. Wage also encouraged voluntary donations.
Globally today, every day, approximately 830 women die from preventable causes related to pregnancy and childbirth. 99% of these live in developing countries, in which Gambia is not an exception. And of course, it's higher in rural areas among poorer communities. And of course, the same pattern is observed in the Gambia.
So therefore, we need to have stock. There is no question about there need to be stocks in our facilities to respond to an emergency requirement for blood.
Donors at the breakfast conference also pledged to support the National Blood Transfusion Services for the provision of timely blood to patients. Reporting for GTTI News, I am Fatu Janembai.
Barrow Hospital in Serekunda has commemorated International Day of Obstetric Fistula with particular focus on efforts to eradicate the disease. Aminata Sanyang has the rest.
Doctors say obstetric fistula, which affects women and girls, is usually caused by several days of obstructed labor without timely medical intervention.
The head of the baby may press on the bladder. So the bladder will be between the pubic bone and the head of the baby. So two bony prominences. So because of the constant, the very pressure, that will stop the blood supply going to that surface, and it will die off. So if it dies, the woman may ultimately deliver if it's lucky. And then maybe 5 days after, that dead tissue will slough off. And then you will see that the woman will start leaking urine.
Barrow Hospital is campaigning to end the disease. Women suffering from fistula are often abandoned or neglected by their husbands and families, and ostracized by their communities.
The big problem about fistula is the social issue. Some people are leaking urine all the time. What happens is the husband tends to leave them, the society tends to leave them, and so they go to the bush and stay there on their own. They don't even allow them in some compound. They don't allow people to talk to them. So if you commemorate it, people will now ask questions. Oh, what is this? Oh, on the whole, this committee, the interview we are doing, and many other activities that are going on, will make people be aware of the condition and know that this is not something that is evil. This is something that can be easily cured.
Poverty and early marriage are said to be the main underlying factors that make women vulnerable to the disease. Doctors say fistula is treatable as well as preventable. Reconstructive surgery can mend the injury.
Most of the time, fistula surgeons always say that there is no fistula that is not curable. So sometimes it may be just that we do one operation, sometimes we have to do up to 5 operations before it's cured. And sometimes when it is not amenable to cure, like just by operation, we may use other methods where maybe we may divert the urine come through the bladder anymore, but go through the rectum.
But the secrecy and shame that surround the condition makes it difficult to get a reliable estimate of its prevalence. Reporting for GTTI News, I am Aminata E. Sanyan.
Indeed, Aminata Sanyan covering child marriage will go a long way in helping the disease. But now, viewers, will take a break and return. More news from the other side. We'll be right back.
Assalamu alaikum Gambia, sen dom la bay babu borom damay fahas malaw ya ma gëna xam ceeb bu sew di leen wax ni Africell data bundle gaaw na sell la wóor te yomba maa ngi connecté wu Snapchat, Viber, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp.
Stay connected to your friends and loved ones all around the world with the most reliable data service. With APRC super fast data, you'll get to enjoy more than just video streaming, downloading pictures and movies, Snapchatting, Instagram, emailing, WhatsApping, IMO, oh, and so much more.
It simply means you can multitask with the fastest and the most efficient data service.
Wanna feel speed? Well, try APRC data. Where APRC goes? Nobody dares to follow.
Welcome back. You're watching the 8 p.m. News Bulletin, and not from news or to news from beyond our borders. The perpetrator behind Monday night attack in Manchester has been identified as 22-year-old Salman Abedi, a Briton of Libyan descent. ISIL has claimed that he was their soldier. British media said Abedi was born in Manchester, not West England, and that his Libyan parents has fled the regime of dictator Muammar Gaddafi. Police staged an armed raid on a Manchester address believed to be where Abedi lived, carrying out a controlled explosion to gain entry. Abedi is reported to have been a former business student who dropped out of university and turned to radical Islam. And from Cairo, CGTN's Yasir Hakim tells us more about the perpetrator.
Well, the threat has been there for a while. It's just that now it's been felt directly after this bomb. But first of all, we should understand that this man was born and bred in the UK. So how did he get into the extremist thinking? And I think this is not talking about the security side, we're talking about thinking, about how he is influenced by extremists, by militants who brought this type of thought into his mind to make him go to Libya, get trained, and then back again to the UK, and takes this atrocity and savage action. So first of all, there has to be the awareness that extremist thinking has to be stopped and not to reach the youth all over the world, not just in the Middle East, because this will have its effect afterwards. Second of all, obviously what happened in Libya with ISIL wreaking havoc for 2 years without any resistance or any fight against ISIL because of the infighting between the political factions in Libya, it gave ISIL a lot of ground, whereas the international community was concentrating on Syria, Yemen or Iraq. They have abandoned Libya, leaving the action there, leaving ISIL there to increase and to have more powers and more followers. And now those followers are going elsewhere to wreak havoc in other countries as well. And several countries, Egypt and the other neighboring countries, Libya's neighboring countries, have said the same for years. They have criticized the West for bombing Libya during the uprising that led to the fall of Gaddafi. NATO interfered and had bombed Libya and dismantled the army, but did not continue in the country to try to help in rebuilding the country. It went out, leaving the army dismantled, giving room for militias to organize themselves, to arm themselves, and to fight each other, and thus giving room for terrorist groups such as ISIL to gain control and also to disperse, giving a threat to the neighbors, first to Egypt, to Tunisia, to Morocco, to Algeria, and then going to Europe through illegal migration groups, through the boats, illegal migrants. So this has been a continuous criticism by the region here against the West for neglecting Libya and doing the same mistake they did in Iraq, for example, when they dismantled the army and did not help in rebuilding another army that would control the country and protect the people. The same in Syria. The army is in a war with others, with the other groups. And now in Libya as well, but Libya has been neglected all the time, and now it's paying the price, not just the region, which has been paying the price for 2 years, with militants going down through the borders to neighboring countries, but now from the sea going back to Europe and planning attacks there. So there has to be quick action, first of all, to improve the security situation and to improve the economic situation. When it's improved as well in development, it will stop the extremist thinking to reach the impoverished and the underdeveloped people in these areas and in these countries. So there has to be action with the West and the region very quickly.
Tragic moment. Yasir Hakim there talking to us from Cairo. And now, U.S. President Donald Trump has called on the world to isolate Iran. Trump and the Saudi monarch said they needed to contain Iran's harmful interference in the internal affairs of other states, instigation of sectarian strife, support of terrorism, and armed proxies, efforts to destabilize the countries in the Middle East as well. Well, we have the rest of the details in this Russia Today report.
We must choose between supporting Israel and supporting Arab and Muslim nations in the region. That is completely wrong.
The Middle East is not exactly the safest place in the world lately. You've got Sunnis versus Shias. You've got Palestinians versus Israelis. They aren't the best of friends. An old cowboy might sum up the mood saying, "This town just isn't big enough for the three of us." But there's a new sheriff in town. Donald Trump says that he can make everything right.
I have seen many hopeful signs that lead me to believe that we can truly achieve a more peaceful future for this region and, frankly, all over the world.
That's Trump in Israel, just off of a royal... reception in Saudi Arabia, where he not only struck a $110 billion deal, but he also rallied regional countries to commit thousands of troops to the war on terror. But is terrorism the only thing that he's worried about?
But no discussion of stamping out this threat would be complete without mentioning the government that gives terrorists safe harbor, financial backing. I am speaking, of course, of Iran.
Now, those anti-Iran noises were music to Israel's ears, but selling weapons to the Saudis did not impress.
Israel, a short time ago, voicing concern in particular about the U.S.'s $110 billion arms deal with Saudi Arabia. A senior Israeli cabinet minister says it is crucial that Israel maintain its military edge over its Arab neighbors.
So how do we get the Israelis to be good to each other? Perhaps by making Iran the bad and the ugly.
For decades, Iran has fueled the fires of sectarian conflict and terror, threatening the region and causing so much violence. All nations of countries must work together to isolate. There is a growing realization among your Arab neighbors that they have common cause with you in the threat posed by Iran, and it is indeed a threat. There's no question about that.
You know, this whole ganging up against Iran and Syria is very dangerous. It's very dangerous for the future of the Middle East. Come with some political, diplomatic vision of the future of the Middle East and how Europe, the United States, and China, and everybody else can help bring the Middle East back to some kind of peace, stability, development, and welfare. All he comes with is weapons and confrontation and demonizing countries that he should cooperate with.
So let's see if that simple idea will help Sheriff Trump maintain law and order in the Middle East. Caleb Maupin, RT, Washington, D.C.
Well, we take a break. We'll be right back with more.
petition. Call 111 QCell. Suyusim, Suyubos, we innovate. Orders follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, now, viewers, that brings us to the end of this newscast. Before we take leave of you, a quick reminder of our headlines once more. President Barrow has returned to Banjul after attending the Arab Islamic American Summit in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Post-election petition filed by the former ruling APRC party has finally been withdrawn by the Supreme Court. Farmers in rural Gambia have received locally made farm implements courtesy of the Gambia Technical Training Institute. And armed police conducted raids in Greater Manchester in the wake of Monday night's concert bombing. But that was all in this edition of the news. Thanks for the pleasure of your company. Do join us at 10 p.m. for another bulletin. Till then, I am Tanim GT and do have a pleasant